Okay. Um, okay. For several years now, several creatives and more people are either in the process of considering it or have either jackpot out of the country already for greener pastures, as I said. The question remains, is it for you? Jackpot or not to jackpot? Which one? Hi, my name is Ibrahim Adeola Ganyu. You're welcome to Create or Die Trying with Sagai. Okay, welcome back. All right, so Jakba or not to Jakba? That is the phrase that's been going on. The question actually that has been going on in several private discussions I've had with a lot of creatives. It's something that is there. We know, we see it, we experience it, and it's not exactly new. Now, for those outside the country, Nigeria, that the phrase Jakba or the word Jakba might not exactly be what you understand. It's a Yoruba phrase, yeah? It's a phrase turned into a word called it means to escape in a hurry, to leave a place in a hurry, to to run, ba, hardly. Okay? And it's basically used to describe the act of relocating out of Nigeria into another country. All right? And it is something that is not particularly new to the country. It's something that's been going on since forever. And I think a lot of people who are watching would agree with me that that's exactly true. So the idea of relocating out of Nigeria has had different names over generations and has been possibly here since the British landed. Ever since the British got here, I think a lot of Nigerians have had the thought or the opportunity to get out of the country. And it seems there is always going to be one era of that relocating activity for every generation of Nigeria that comes up. Now, so I mean, growing up, I know of the Londoner era where the place to be was London. Everybody wanted to either visit or live in London, and it became a thing of pride to say you're a Londoner, you've been there or you're living there. And that was something at the point. Then came the era of the Andrew no checkout level. For those who remember Andrew don't check out, will know what I'm talking about. Another wave of relocating that happened, I think, in the 80s, where lots more Nigerians were seemingly leaving the country than normal. And then came the era of the visa lottery, the green card situation where every Nigerian wanted to apply for green card to the point that I'm sure the American government had to reduce the allocation for Nigeria as a whole. So, and then there's the era of the Italian connection for reasons known. We know those reasons. And then now we have the era of JAPA, where people are leaving the country for greener pastures. All right? So it is not exactly something new. And for all intent and purposes, it looks like it's something that might have benefits, that actually has benefits for those who do it. And many are still doing it now. Now, it's a little bit complicated because you see or hear about a lot of things happening with people who have jackpot, great stories of those who have found a better life or a better calling or a better way to create and be more productive after jackpotting, and of those who actually had to return or are living a different life or have had to abandon their creative pursuits because they have now jackpot to a country that's not conducive to what they're trying to create, or have found out that it is not as easy as they thought it would be. So there are all kinds of stories about it, the positive and the negative about jackpotting. Now, the real question for those within the country, which constantly plays in the minds of people, including myself, I could tell you, is it really for you? Is it something you should consider doing at all? Knowing fully well that relocating outside of a country is not exactly a bad thing in itself. It's not something that's a problem, okay? So that is a fact of life. That would always happen. Now, to get some extra perspective on this, I actually reached out to someone to share a thought on it, and we'll be showing that later on in the show. And also, let's take the opportunity to just quickly introduce our 5K trivia. That's going to happen in this episode of the live broadcast. We are going to ask a question on the show, and then the correct answer for that wins 5,000 Naira cash straight to their account and order. So that is going to happen here right now. But our major topic, our topic itself, JAPA or not? What do you think? Your comments and contributions are always welcome. All right, so let's put that in and see if we can explore this topic together. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so now there's probably going to be a lot of different views and perspectives on this topic, but I've tried to put down a couple of things that I believe would highlight some of those key points. The first in it is the reasons to consider JAPA-ing. Let's just attend to the elephant in the room, okay? What are the reasons to consider JAPA-ing as a creative living in Nigeria? One of the reasons is the change of environment, okay? The environment, for most Nigerians or most creative people in Nigeria feel that the environment is not exactly conducive for their creative abilities or creative development. And then there's attached to that environmental decision or thinking is security. You know, you get to hear about all kinds of things happening regarding security or insecurity in the country. And then following even the NSAS protest in 2020, a lot more creatives are looking at the fact that they felt at that point that creatives were being targeted because they are being taken for a different set of people other than who they really are. So for most creatives, or for some creatives, they will say, the environment is not secure enough, there's a lot of insecurity around, they don't know if they will be kidnapped or whatnot, so they feel they'll be safer if they're in a different environment. Then two, expand their scope. A lot more creators are feeling that maybe they'll be able to have access to greater things outside of the country and be able to actually explore more of their skills and abilities beyond what it is right now if they are not within the Nigerian environment, they're not in Nigeria, so they have a way to expand their scope on that. Then number three would be the opportunity to work with bigger clients, bigger brands. All right, for a lot of creatives, the feeling is that rising somehow in the Nigerian field might be harder. You might never get to work with international brands if you are a creative in Nigeria because you know, you might not be respected as the guy who's living in Nigeria, so they might not want to give you jobs. But if you're outside Nigeria, you'll be able to work with these bigger clients. You know, so the potential of being able to work with bigger clients is also there. Then there is also for those who are into products, the access to a different market. So you have a product, for instance, our comic book publishers that often feel like maybe perhaps comic books are not well appreciated in Nigeria and want to explore other markets and believe that if they are publishing from outside the country, they might be able to access a bigger market by doing so. And then there comes the part that goes down into the not dedicated to self part, which is a better children for the coming generations, their children. So often most creators are looking at it and saying, look, maybe my children will be better off if they're growing up in a different country, if they have access to education in a different country and all that. And that also brings a different benefits or reason why people are considering going outside the country. And that is education as well. Most creatives feel they'll probably get more dedicated education in their field if they are in a different country that is more conducive to such things. They talk about the fact that maybe there are not specific schools for illustration or for writing or for certain things in the Nigerian environment. You know, if they are in this other country, they'll be able to get education to boost their knowledge and thereby boosting their creative output as well. So education becomes another factor why most are considering exiting the country, JAPA-ing. Okay, and then comes the obvious one that always comes first for most people is the idea that they'll be earning in dollars. A lot of creative feels that they're not getting the true value of their creative output in Nigeria and thereby feel like if they're in a different country, perhaps they'll be able to get the appropriate pay for what they are putting out. And then they won't just be getting that pay, they'll be getting it in dollars, which totally changes the game for such creatives. Now, these are the reasons I've highlighted, and there are a variety of other reasons as well that are there for people. I'm sure the viewers out there, you guys are typing things about what you think on why to consider JAPA-ing or the benefits of JAPA-ing. Now, as these benefits are, they how do I call it now? They don't exactly describe the full scope of things. So there are other aspects of it. Now we are looking at why, whether you should JAPA or not. Is it for you? How to properly assess the situation to make a decision on it. All right. Now, before we go on, let's hear our question for the 5K trivia. Now, it's going to be on for a few seconds. Please pay attention to this question right now. The answers should come in, and then whoever gets the question right gets 5,000 naira at the end of the show. So here's our 5K trivia. Okay, you got that? You got it. Well, though I'm not going to give any hints, but it might not be exactly what you're thinking. Any which way, put the answers down in the comments section below, and let's go on with it. So, we have looked at the benefits or the reasons you should be considering JAPA-ing. Why should you think about it? Why should you get up? But now, let's now look at the other reasons not to JAPA, right? Now, this might not be reasons for a lot of people, but there are things to also look at when you are considering the reasons too. You should also be considering the reasons why you shouldn't. So one of the first reasons, or the first reason here is the fact that, okay, I think we have comments on that's comment. Can we see those comments? Let me have a look. Yes, come on, people. Okay, I think we have comments. All right, let's see. All right, Sega, thank you very much for tuning on the show, Sega. I appreciate that. Sega says, Nigeria go survive. Yes, so that's Andrew. No check out to Nigeria go survive. Yes, we know that one. And then Peter Chizoba Daniel. Peter, how you doing, bro? He said OT4 Jakparism. Nigerian environment no easy for the less privileged and the people with the power are not willing to aid in any way. Okay, so Jakparism becomes culture. Even the people with power to stay in JAPA as well, okay? They only come to collect their own cut of the national cake and then JAPA back again, okay? That's Peter Daniel's opinion in there. Okay, and then Owade Fellow Victor answered the question. Owade, thank you very much for your answer. More answers, please. People, put in the answer for that the 5K trivia so that we can go on. Now, let's get on to the reasons why you should not JAPA, or more like the consequences of the potential consequences of JAPA-ing. So, number one is another very obvious thing. The dollar to naira conversion is actually better than the naira to dollar conversion. All right. So I know that naira is battling the dollar and losing in a variety of ways, and that makes it more valuable to earn dollars while you're in Nigeria. So earning dollars and converting to naira is actually more beneficial than earning naira and trying to see if you can send it abroad and all of that. So there's that advantage to working from Nigeria and earning dollars from Nigeria. So the dollar to naira conversion is good. And then for a lot of reasons, often JAPA-ing is just a change of location for hustle. You know, you're just changing the environment for your hustle. The hustle continues between here and there. Whether you're in Nigeria or outside Nigeria in another country, there are things that would always be part of the hustle. You're still looking for funds, you're still looking to pay rent, you're still looking to feed, to live, and to do the other things, the socials and all of that. So for most people, sometimes JAPA-ing just means transferring your hustle. You're just changing location. The hustle still continues. You're doing 3 jobs in your new country, whereas you had 1 job that was relatively okay in Nigeria, but now you're doing 3 jobs to be relatively okay in another country. So often it is a transfer of location. Then also, one reason, a reason to consider staying in Nigeria and not JAPA-ing is that you realize that you can actually work for the abroad while you live in Nigeria. That ties into the first thing we talked about, earning dollars from working in Nigeria, working for foreign businesses in Nigeria, and then earning dollars into the country for yourself. That conversion works better. $100 outside of Nigeria might not get you the same thing $100 would get you in Nigeria. So that is one thing to look at. Now, this is another consideration. This is more introspective for each individual out there. If you're not settled here, settling abroad in any country will be a lot more harder than you imagine it to be. So it basically goes that if you are not particularly, you haven't gotten your stuff together in Nigeria, it might be a bit harder to get it together when you're outside the country. Okay, I mean, somebody once said that if you can survive in Lagos and then added New York, then you can survive just about anywhere. So that means if you are able to get yourself together in a place that is tough and hard to live, then settling into a place that's soft to live should be easy for you. Then converse to that is also, if you are settled here, it is often a downgrade when you JAPA. Okay, now let me explain that. So imagine you are the CEO, executive creative director of a company here in Nigeria that you probably set up or you're working for one, and then you have to JAPA. Very often what we hear is you get there and you're doing a different job that is lower than your original grade here. So you have got to downgrade your position, so to speak, to earn in the new currency you'll be earning in a different country. So for most individuals, it's often a downgrade, and basically the respect you gather in Nigeria while you're here as the CEO or the chairman or the director of a particular organization doesn't translate to that new country. You have got to start from a different level. And we know that a lot of people who have to leave the country, who have to jackpot, are not exactly doing that creative thing they were doing in Nigeria before they left. They're not exactly doing only that right now. They're doing that and other things to kind of like make sure that things keep moving up there. Okay, so now because Nigeria has its many issues, all right? And a lot of people will say it's that instead of it having money issues, what they see is that they have bigger opportunities. Nigeria has bigger opportunities here. So for a variety of reasons, while we are looking outside the country and saying maybe it will be better out there, there are people who see what we are going through and they're saying, hey, I can thrive here. I can go to this country and actually make something for myself here. So as we are leaving, some are also coming in because they see bigger opportunities here. And that ties into a statement somebody made when I threw this topic out and sharing their thoughts on the fact that, look, it is better to be a local champion here than to go and be a slave in a different country. Okay, so these are the many reasons why you might want to look at, should you really JAPA as an individual? Is this something that's in it for you? And added to that is also the fact that JAPA-ing is not exactly a cheap thing to do, all right? And what I've been surprised at over the years is seeing people who say they are unable to put 1 million naira together for several years, are able to put up to 3 to 4 million naira together when they have to JAPA. Oftentimes, that tells me what the problem might have been all this while, and it's not exactly about the fact that you couldn't put the money together. And because, for real, let's look at it. Every person that has jackpot out of the country has used money, well, majorly, let me not say every, used money made in the country to jackpot. So basically, you're making the money in Nigeria that you want to use to live in a different country, to travel out and go and live in a different country. That says a lot about what we should be considering, all right? So, now, with that in there, I want to share two things, and we'll go into certain things. But before we go on, we know whether you're in Nigeria or not, there are a variety of things out there that Nigerians are busy doing and doing awesome stuff. So one of those things is part of a project that I know it's a creative thing that has been around for a while, but it's one of our creative things that you definitely should love. So let's look at the creative things to love today.
It is not what we have, but what we do.
Let's go. We are headed to the big leagues, Giant Army! From the ruins of great Zimbabwe!
You are a move.
You will not have him again!
You chose this fate.
You think that's fast? Watch this.
Alright, let's play.
Okay, well, that's a project that has been around for, I think, a bit right now, but it's on Disney Plus. And our boy, Shofela Koka, actually worked on that project as well. I think Moremi is the part of the project he worked on. A good work, fellas. Well done, guys, there. So we have a few comments on Facebook. Anu Aferi is watching. Thank you very much, Anu, for joining us. And then Christian Photogenic Honor says, I prefer being here and earning in foreign currency, in hard currency, he says. That's it's just Fatima Bada, thank you very much for joining. And Ebony Jr., as well as Orishigun Lumide. Hey, Orishigun Baba, thank you very much for tuning into the show today. So now, you probably have a variety of reasons why you want to do this specifically and other reasons why you don't. But there will always be reasons to consider staying or leaving the country in your JAPA mood or otherwise. Like Mr. Daniel said, there are quite a number of people who are even who have the power to JAPA who are not, as well as those who have the power and have already JAPA'd as it is. But then there's some part I want to look at quickly. It's a bit interesting. And maybe because I just like to look at things from a variety of angles, I came to look at it and ask the question, is there any benefit at all in this JAPA thing for Nigeria as a country? How does it help us if it has been going on for so long? You know, you will think that maybe the entire population of Nigeria would have left the country by now, or at least 50% are already out. But that is not so. That's not what's going on. So is there any way this is benefiting the country? And a few thoughts and some reasons came up in discussions with other people that I've had. One of it is the fact that there's FX remittances. You know, if you hear about the figure of in dollars and pounds and other currencies that Nigerians are sending back home from where they have JAPA to, it's surprising, you know, because there's hardly any Nigerian who has JAPA or relocated presently who does not have family or property or investments or assets in Nigeria, and then almost every year or every month actually, people are sending in dollars, pounds, yen, and all whatnot into Nigeria to their friends and families. And then, of course, we know what happens on Christmas Day when their brothers arrive in our villages and in our areas to just come back home and greet people, bring the children around. So basically, Nigeria is getting FX remittances because people are spending monies earned outside Nigeria in Nigeria. That actually helps the economy. And funny enough, might actually be helping to boost the value of the naira against the dollar. Then also, the other angle of this is Nigerians living abroad have actually boosted the Nigerian food exports. All right? Now, most Nigerians living abroad want a taste of home. They want to be able to enjoy their local dishes wherever they are in the world. So they are ordering more and more of their foodstuffs from Nigeria. That means several businesses in the last 5 years, I know at least 6 businesses that have sprung up that I know directly, whose main job is to deliver foodstuffs from Nigeria to Nigerians in the UK, in the US, in Canada, in Europe, in all parts of the world. Like they're just constantly busy getting orders and sending these things out. I know friends who have had to go to mile 12 to buy foodstuff to send over to people in their abroad. So a lot more of that is happening. So several businesses in the food export thing are also showing up within the country to make this happen. Then in some ways, there's also skills and experience transfer. All right? Now, I know people think, okay, you JAPA, that's about it. But some of the things I've seen is the fact that most creatives, particularly who JAPA, are often still working with Nigerian creatives to get their products out, particularly in the comic book realm. So you have people who JAPA out of the country who are making their dollars there, but they are working with Nigerian creatives to achieve their products. Because, and this is clear, it's cheaper. It's very much cheaper to do so. Okay, one other comment here from Fatima Bada. seriously speaking, I love Niger taku. All right. What I hate is when people who didn't tell you when leaving, and later they call you to ask you something like, Kilian Drushi, what are you still doing in Nigeria? Why are you not out? You know, they didn't tell you when they were going to Japan. They went to Japan, they are calling you to say, Kilian Drushi, what are you waiting for? It's just annoying, selling off 2 to 3 properties to go and start all over. And that is another aspect of this scenario. So there are also people who japa, and then every asset, everything they have in the country, they sell off. So I'll come back to talk about that last thing about the experience transfer before things go on. However, I want to share a take by a good friend of mine who I asked to send in his own take on this topic. Japa or not? What's your take? Let's see that.
To jump or not, I think the creative industry is becoming increasingly borderless. So I think creatives also need to get those borders out of their minds. Where the project is where your home is really. And if the project does not require you to be on site, you could work from wherever. If there are concerns about nation building, I think diaspora remittances, in the case of Forex, ensuring that your concepts and storytelling are steeped in, Nigerian and African, folklore and original concepts. Those are enough to cater to those concerns. A lot of our boys worked on Kisazimoto, and they are scattered all over the world. So I really, really believe that the modern creative is borderless and should be boundless, really.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Abolaji Alaosa, for that take on this particular topic. Thank you very much for sending it in. And like you rightly said in there, where home is exactly where your creative works. So not necessarily where you have to be on site. So if you don't have to be on site, you don't have to be on site. You can just get the borders out of your mind. The creative field is borderless. So most creatives need to realize that they don't have to be in a different country to actually be able to work in a different country's projects. Okay? Thank you very much for that, Abolaji Alausa. That's the Executive Creative Director of Noah's Ark. And he is also the sponsor for the gift for the 5K trivia of today. Okay? So, watching out for that, let's round up a couple of things. Okay? We know that there are reasons why you should be considering JAPA-ing. Of course, there will always be reasons to do that. That's been going on since forever and would always be there. And then we're looking at reasons why you shouldn't. Okay? And somebody just raised in the comment section exactly one thing that I've been observed of those who JAPA, whether they're in the creative field or not. Oftentimes you hear of people who have assets in Nigeria, who have development in Nigeria, who have achieved a level of success in Nigeria, sell all their properties, sell all their assets, basically like clear their existence in Nigeria and start all over again in a different country. And for some people, that becomes like difficult to understand. Why would you do that? And follows one other reason that I'm going to talk about now regarding the reasons to consider not to JAPA. Okay, the real estate industry in Nigeria is actually helped by the JAPA syndrome. Okay, and you hear several stories of people who have been living abroad for 10, 5, 15, 20 years. They have been sending money home every week, every year to their brother, family, cousins, some business or the other to try and buy or build a property for them in Nigeria. And also you hear of people who have actually bought properties in Nigeria where they're living abroad, and the property income here in Nigeria is what they are using to actually flex their lives in the abroad. Okay, so it helps that as well. So leaving your asset completely, as in getting your asset completely thrown out, doesn't seem a great idea. So for the creative, the advice is this: let's see how we can explore the possibilities of being borderless in the way we work. Yes, there would always be reasons why you're afraid of how the country will work out. I mean, this is not about patriotism like some people would say about it. It's not really about patriotism. It's more about considering the impact on that change on yourself and your family and your creative output itself. All right, like I said, sometimes you hear about creative people who have had to change their career once they're out of the country because it's tougher than they imagine it to be out there. Okay, so now we're going to round up this topic shortly, but before we do so, we need to look at our recommended reading brought to you by Majestic Comics. Let's see what you should be reading. All right. Thanks again for that, Majestic Comics. You know, for your plug in getting comics from outside the country into Nigeria. For JAPA-ing comics into Nigeria, you should talk to Majestic Comics. All right. So let's round it up. For each individual, for each creative out there, deciding to JAPA or not is a personal thing. It's something you have to look at critically as to the level of your career, presently the level of success you're achieving right now, and the level of confidence you feel in your activities within the country. All right? These are the things that you will have to consider before JAPA-ing, knowing fully well, and this is something you should consider strongly as a creative, knowing fully well that it is not an automatic ticket to success. All right? You are not JAPA-ing and then in two days' time we're going to hear that you have won the Grammy or an Oscar or you're present leading creative in the universe. It's not magic. It's not exactly a one-size-fits-all solution for whatever problem one has. Sometimes it's something else. It might be just a little bit more discipline is required, a little bit more growth is required, a little more planning, a little more prudency in what we do might be required. But each individual has to consider these reasons for themselves and make that decision. So only you can decide whether you want to JAPA or not. All right, so with that, let's talk about, let's quickly say something about our 5K trivia. Yes, we have two persons answering it in the comment section. Owade Felua Victor said the Phantom, okay, that's Owade Victor said that. And then Christian Photogenic Omar also says Phantom as the answer to the 5K trivia. I think those are the two answers we got. Orishegun Olimide says something. Let me just get this comment quickly. Orishegun Olimide says, JAPA has its own pros and cons. We just need to factor what our focus will be in another man's land. Now, that is a good way to actually round up all of that statement, that it has its pros and cons. You just have to figure out how to live your life, how to set it up when you're living in another man's lands. It's no longer Nigeria again. Remember that traffic light you used to go against? Well, you need to consider that. So with those two answers for our 5K trivia, we do have a winner. And so that means, I mean, he was the first one to actually say the answer. So the answer is the Phantom. Okay? The Phantom was created in 1936. It was actually published in February 17, 1936 by Lee Falk in America. So the Phantom is the first costume superhero character. For everybody who knows that Superman made his own debut in 1938. So this guy was first published in 1936, February 17 to be precise. So, and funny enough, the way his mask looked in that period is actually what a lot of superheroes following after him took after that mask that Robin has, or that Green Arrow has, or that the Green Lantern has, and all of that. That mask became a thing for all superheroes going forward. So for the second time in a row in our second live broadcast, Owade Victor has won a competition again here. So Owade, congratulations on that. Send me your account details by DM, and then we are going to get you your prize right away. Of course, please confirm once you get it. So with that, Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining the show. Again, it's always awesome to have you guys here and get on this topic. I know this topic particularly is not something that can end with just this episode. We're probably going to need to look at it from a variety of angles as well, and maybe even get more input from those who are out there to see what exactly is in it for us creative if we do indeed decide to JAPA out of the country. Well, anyhow you do it, whether you JAPA or you stay in the country or you decide to just do something else entirely. Whatever the case is, JAPA or not, you must create or die trying. So guys, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good time.